Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm ShyWizard. I want to take a look at this particular mod pack again, or more so the buildings that come in the mod pack. This is the Van der List mod pack that I did a video on a little while ago showing how to do a giant editor import of a building with animations. But in that particular video I mentioned that this one, the larger building, well, it's not so much larger, it's just longer, I guess, because the other building is quite big. But it's more squared off. This one is more of a longer styled building. I'm going to probably slur a lot and do a lot of sniffing because I seem to have a cold again. Always got a cold, so I apologise for that. But I want to have a look at this building in this video because I mentioned that we had some problems with the triggers showing up this warning here in the console saying that the selected shape does not have any material properties. And if I actually come over to the attributes window here and click on shape tab, you can see that it does not have any material assigned to it, and it should have. And I can actually show that in this particular trigger, which has been set up correctly. It has an unnamed material assigned to it. Now the actual name of the material is not really relevant. You might look at other objects and it might say something like Lambert or Lambert 1 or something like that, depending on whether the person who created the object changed the material or whatever else the material name. But the actual name is not really relevant. It's the fact that it actually has a material assigned to it. That's the part that is causing the problem here, because these other triggers don't have any material assigned. Then it's giving us this warning. So we're going to have a look at how we fix that, and we can do that here within the giant editor. So I'm going to be creating a new primitive object, a cube, which is going to then be set up as a trigger to replace these older ones, or the original ones that don't. They do work, they just give us this warning. So I'm going to click on the new cube here, Control X to cut it, click on the main transform group that I want to apply it to, and then Control V to put it into there. And I'm going to right click and move it up just below the original one here. And I'm going to actually create a new one, another new one, by just going Control D to make a duplication. And I'm going to Control X to cut it, click on the other one, Control V to paste it in there. So we have the same parent-child hierarchy as the original setup here. And you can see every time I click on these, it gives me this error, this warning. So potentially, as a giant editor import more so than a placeable, this could cause problems later on down the road. So we want to get rid of that. That's the whole point of this. So I'm going to take the name from the original ones because the name is somewhat important, because it'll all match into the animated objects XML. So I want to keep that somewhat the same, so we don't have to change anything there. So I'm going to paste the names of those into the newly created triggers here, and we just need to set them up. So looking at the originals, they are rigid bodied and they are set up as a trigger with a collision mask. And if we actually open up the collision mask box here, we can see that it has 20 and 21 assigned in there. So we want to match our new ones to those. So going back to the new one, we're going to go rigid body, apply the trigger attribute to it, clear out the collision mask, and then apply the 20 and 21 so it matches the original one. And we'll click OK. I'm also then going to make it non-renderable and apply distance blending to it. And what I'll do is I'm going to do the same to the other one here while we're here. So we'll just go rigid body, trigger, clear out the collision mask, and apply the 20 and 21 to it. And then apply the distance blending and make it non-renderable. Okay, but at the moment they're both smack in the middle of the building here, so I don't want them to be there. Obviously want them to be applied to the door or the light switch or whatever else it's going to operate. So I'm going to take the attributes from the original ones here. So I'm going to copy all of the XYZ translate attribute. With left shift, left control and C, I can copy all three of those in one go. And then I'm going to click into here, left shift, left control V, and paste them all into there like so. And we now have our trigger applied to the light switch. Now this particular one has some scaling, so I'm going to apply that as well. So we'll come into here and apply the scaling like so. And we now have the trigger set up on that one, and we have the other one is going to be the child. So at the moment it's probably somewhere where we don't want it to be, so I need to take the attributes from here. So again, left shift left control C and copy all the translate XYZ together and apply that to the new trigger here like so, and that will now be set up where I want it to be. And it's taking the scaling from the parent here and applying it to the child like so. All of that is now where I want it to be. Fantastic. So I can delete the old one that gives us the warning. So it's a case of going through all of the other triggers and just repeating exactly the same process to get us what we want. So we'll go down to the next door or the next trigger, and if I click on this one again, it gives me this warning. So I want to replace that one, and this is for the side door here, this one just here. So I'm going to create another primitive cube here, highlight the cube, Control X, click in the main transform group that I want to apply it to, Control V, right click and move it up just below the old trigger here. Take the name from the attributes window and paste that into my new trigger, and then again make it a rigid body object, apply the trigger and apply our collision mask of 20 and 21 like so. Make it non-renderable and apply the distance blending to it. And I'm going to then position this against the door. Now the original trigger, if we look at the attributes, it's all set at 0, so I'm not quite sure what that was all about, but I'm going to ignore that and just set it where I want to put the trigger against this particular door. So I'm going to move it somewhere in the middle of the door here. Now what I want to do is set this up so that I can only open the door from the inside. So I'm going to basically move the trigger up against the door, something like that, raise it up, and I'm going to scale it out so it gives me a bit more of an area for me to enter in the trigger and know that I'm going to be able to hit it no problem, like so. It's not showing on the outside, so that's good, that's what I want. So I will be able to come into the trigger here, activate the door, but only from the inside of the building. I can highlight the original one and delete it, no longer need it. So that's that one all done. If I come down to the next one here, we can have a look at this one. So again, clicking on that trigger, we again get our warning, so I need to fix that. So I'm going to create another primitive cube here. Highlight the cube, Control X, click on the transform group, Control V. Right click it, move it up just below the original one. We'll take the name from the attributes window and apply it to my new cube here, which is going to become my new trigger. Tab and lock it in. We'll take our attributes from here and apply that to the new cube. I'm going to just scale this myself, so make it a bit bigger, something like that, and I'm going to make it a little bit wider as well, because I want to have it where I can enter the trigger and open the door without the door opening and smacking me in the face. So just get a rough idea of kind of there, somewhere like that will be fine. You might need to experiment with that a little bit, but a lot of times when I'm looking at these particular buildings, you open the door and you have to be so close to the door because the trigger is so small that you then end up clipping into the door and colliding with the door. So just make the trigger big enough that the door will be able to open without you interfering with its operation. So again, I'm going to make this a rigid body, apply the trigger attribute, we'll clear out the bit mask and apply the 20 and 21 again, click OK, and I'm going to make it non-renderable and apply distance blending. I can now remove or delete the old one, don't need it anymore. So that's that one done. So coming down to the next one, we again click on the trigger and we get our error. So if we look over here again, this one, you can always come over to the shape tab here in the attributes, and again you can see it has no material assigned to it, hence the error, or the warning. Going to need to fix this one, so I'm going to do the same again, create a new cube, highlight the cube, Control X, click on the transform group that I want to apply it to, Control V, right click, move up. We'll take the name from the old trigger here and apply to the new one. Tab and lock it in. I'll take the attributes again from here, translate XYZ, and apply that to my new trigger. And I'm just going to, again, like I say, scale this for my own purposes. So we'll make it a bit bigger, not that big. Something like that will do just fine. And I'm going to make it a bit wider so I can open the door, like I say, without it smacking me in the face. Something like that will be fine. Make it a rigid body, apply the trigger attribute, and then we'll clear out our collision mask and apply the 20 and 21 and click OK. Make it non-renderable and apply the distance blending. And that's pretty much, that's it. You can see this one has a material created by the Giants editor, so no more warnings. And if I then come through to the other ones, this one already has been set up correctly. We can see that it gives us an outliner, and we can look in our shape and it gives us unnamed material. All the rest of it is perfectly fine. So I don't know why, but some of the triggers have some problems, but other ones do not. Not quite sure what that's all about. This one again also has no problems. Might potentially make it a bit bigger, just so I don't have to fish around somewhere in the middle of the door to hit the trigger. But again, I want this to be only accessible from inside, so I wouldn't be able to open this from outside of the building. So I have to come into the building through the side doors here to activate this door, same as the hydraulic one on the other end. You might want to make the trigger bigger so you could access this door from outside as well, but just scale it up to whatever you think is appropriate so you can access it from inside and outside. But that's pretty much it. So now I know I can come up to this door, and because it's a door that an up and over door, I don't really need this trigger to be that big, so that's fine. But again, you can scale that to whatever is going to work for you, and that's pretty much it. So if I now actually save this, we'll close it down, reopen it again in the Giants editor. If I go through all of the triggers again, I would recommend you do this. Just go through them and make sure all of the appropriate parts have been applied. So we've got our collision, our trigger, our collision mask, the non-renderable and distance blending is applied, and all the rest of it. Just check them all and make sure I haven't missed anything. So that's fine, we have all of that. And again, you're just checking in the console here to make sure that we don't get the warning anymore. So if we come down to this one, no warning. All of the attributes there are set up correctly. We have our trigger attribute and all the rest of it there. Do the same for this one. That's fine. All of that's fine. And OK. And we'll delete our old trigger for this particular one because we don't need that anymore. And you can see as soon as I click the old one, it gives us our warning again. So I can get rid of that one. We'll delete it like so. Click on the new one, and the warning does not pop up. And this is all set up correctly as well. Fantastic. So we can save that, close it down again, reopen it, make sure that all of the older ones have been deleted and we have no warnings of any kind on any of the triggers. No warnings. Fantastic. So that's pretty much that all done now. I can go ahead and close that down. Next thing I want to look at is the actual mod desk for the add store category lure. If I actually open up the script itself here within Notepad++, we can see at the top here that it gives us the information for the structure that needs to be applied in the mod desk. And you can see here mod desk, store items, new store category, or sorry, new categories, and then new category. So that's the kind of hierarchy that needs to be applied within the mod desk. So if I minimize that one down and then open up the mod desk, you can see here that we have store items as one hierarchy, if you like, and then the new categories as a completely separate setup. And that's not what the script is asking us to do. The script is actually asking us to have the store items and new categories as one section. So basically, if you want to look at it like this, the new categories is a child of store items, and the store items is the parent. So what we need to do is highlight our categories, our new category section, Control X to cut that, and then create some spaces within the store items area, and then paste that into there. So now if we go by this, we have store items, then new categories, and new category. So we have store items, new categories, new category, all within the store items tags. And that's the way it should be set up. I'm not quite sure why that wasn't done like that, but you know, not too difficult to fix that. So the other thing I want to look at is the previous category, and this again is important. The way it's spelt, whether it's uppercase, lowercase, all the rest of it, that needs to be set up in a specific manner. And again, if we come back to the script, you can see here for all of the previous categories, if we come down to the bottom, we have placeables, and this is saying placeables, but it has an uppercase P on it. So we want to take that from there and copy that, and then basically replace what we have in here. So it all matches. So when the script looks through here, it's going to look at previous categories and then be able to identify placeables against what the script is actually looking for. And sometimes these things can be case sensitive. Not always, but sometimes they can be. And it's always best to just take the information from the script itself so that it all matches in together, because it can then cause some problems if not set up exactly the same way. So now we've sorted that out and we've got all of that in the correct places, and also named the previous category correctly, I can go ahead and save that and close that down. We'll also close down the script, so don't need that. So next thing then is to actually put this into game and check that it actually works. Okay, so this is the same mod map that I used to actually do the Giants editor import of this building here, and that one worked perfectly fine before. It was all categorized correctly in the in-game store as a placeable as well. But if I now go into the in-game store, we can see that we have the Van der List store category. If I go in here now, we have both buildings listed and selectable. So if I actually cheat in some money here so I can actually buy these. Now, like I say, this particular building worked perfectly fine before, but again, I'll just purchase it so you can see that there's nothing changed there from my previous video. And I will put a link to that video if you wanted to have a look at that. And then you could also apply that same setup if you wanted to then do a Giants editor import of the other building that we've looked at here today. So if we come over to here, this one does work as a placeable. We have all of our information for opening the door, closing the door, all the other stuff there. Fantastic. So if I now go back into the store here and purchase the other building, and we'll just place that somewhere over there, like so, we can see now with this one, if I come up to this door, I can't open it from the outside, but this one I can, and I've put the trigger large enough, like I showed in the editor, that I can come into here and operate the door without it smacking me in the face and me clipping into the door and whatever else. But also it's big enough that it's, or I should say it's small enough that I can come over to here and operate the light switch without interfering with the door itself. And then this one over here, this one was actually set up correctly, so this all works, no problem. The hydraulic door all opens and closes perfectly fine. And then this one over here, again, this one I can open from inside, but if I actually go outside, I can't operate it from outside of the building. So I need to be inside the building to actually get my prompts. And that's kind of, you know, the way I particularly would want it set up, I guess. And again with this one here, we get our prompts to open the door. This one here, I can open the door again without it smacking me in the face. We also have our light switch, and if I wanted to here, I could come outside. I can't open the door from the outside unless I clip myself into the door itself, and you might want to reposition the trigger slightly further away, so you can't get any kind of access to it. I could cheat it somewhat there, but I potentially would come to here to open the door. But the idea of it is that you set it up so you have to be on the inside of the building to be able to open the door. But now that is all working perfectly fine as a placeable. It's in the correct category in the store and all the rest of it. So I'm ShyWizard, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.